Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another session in the Power of Sourcing 2025. My name is Adrian Kolf, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Matcher, and I will be your host today. Now, if you have any questions, please type them directly in the chat, and Alex and I will get back to you at the end of his keynote to answer any questions that you might have. If you haven't already, please follow us on YouTube and subscribe to our newsletter so you can stay updated on any future events that we're hosting. Now, before I introduce Alex on the stage, let me tell you a little bit more about what we do at Matcher. At Matcher, we are a global embedded RPO company, whereby our sourcers, coordinators, and recruiters work fully embedded into teams of TikTok, of Booking, Stripe, Revolut, but also companies like Action and Heineken. Now, we're hiring actively across the board for both sourcers and recruiters. So please go to our website and see if there's any roles that might be a fit for you. And if you could use any help with sourcing, recruitment, or coordination, please reach out to me because we would love to get in touch with you. Now, without further ado, please welcome on stage Alex Hur. Alex,
hey,
yes.
Hey. Hello
Welcome.
again.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
good to
thanks
see
for
you.
having me.
Yeah, definitely.
Likewise.
So it's been some time in the making, because I think the first time that we spoke was probably already 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was about that time.
And you know, we were talking. I think we were just coming out of COVID, right? The world was definitely a different place. But one thing that I love that you've done is, next to being the head of employer branding at GoDaddy, is you started the community.
I did, yeah. I started a little crazy thing on Discord.
What is it? Tell us and tell our viewers a little bit more.
Yeah. So it is it's a community that is focused on employer branding professionals, in-house or consultants.
Yep.
And the goal of that is really to hone in more into like deeper questions, deeper topics, maybe than I had the experience of participating with in other groups, and to try to do something that was more global, because my good friend Claire D'Souza, co-founder as well, we felt that we love these different groups that we're part of, and I think there's a lot that we learned from that, right? That's how we became friends, how we started working together, and while we had this crazy idea, but they were either too US specific, too UK specific, and we wanted to close that gap, because as you mentioned, when you and I first met, like, people were just connecting online, right? I think we were in the middle of the pandemic, and then here we are now, we're back to in-person events. So that led us to creating a free community for all within employer branding to join a Discord, the first of its kind.
So good. Awesome. I love it. And to be honest, that's also what we started to do with our webinar series. And over time, that has also grown into much more than just a webinar series, where we actively have a pretty active community of sourcers, recruiters, and senior leaders as well. So I love it. I love it that you started this.
Yeah, thank you,
Alex. The floor is yours. I'm looking forward to your keynote.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. As Adrian mentioned, Alex Hur. I am one of the co-founders of the EB space. It is a community for in-house and external practitioners. Also head up the global employer brand and at GoDaddy. And here to talk to you today, there's a variety of topics you may have come across with webinars or in-person events, but I want to dive into the hard truth about employer branding. So there's going to be a lot to pack in here. Feel free to drop any comments you have on the side. Do my best to answer them in between if it's in reference to one of the slides that are there. Or if there's any questions after the fact, we will make some time on the side to go through that as well. All right, so kind of went through a little bit of the intro here, but I do a little bit of podcasts, blogs, and speaking engagements, as you can see from there. Some actually specifically in Nashville and in the UK. All right. So question for the audience. What's the biggest mistake in employer branding? This could be, it's very, very subjective. It's up to you, but please feel free to drop in your comments what you feel the biggest mistake is in employer branding specifically. Okay. Overconfidence, Luke. I like that. That could be one thing as well. So for me, it is investing before investigating. And I say that because everybody, you see what other great practitioners and companies are doing across LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you consume your employer brand specific media and data, and they're doing these great things, right? They're jumping in, they're getting stuff done, and you want to jump in and do that too. And I think the biggest one to pick out is EVPs. People are jumping in rather quickly to do an EVP when there's no work that's even been done. It's all when you read these articles, you see these videos, is that there's an EVP that needs to be done. And while great in theory, and it's definitely something that is a really nice to have, you don't always have that coming into a brand new company or firm or project that you're working with. Next on that is career pages. People jump in and they just want to, design an amazing career page, which, I think you need to take some stock into exactly what you have, what vendor you're with, what the options are, instead of running out there and selling yourself to a six-figure contract that may not fix the problems that you have today. CRM is another thing where individuals will jump in and just go out and buy a CRM. There's a lot of great ones out there. This is not to disparage anybody with, if you've already gotten to that point of your process where you need these items. I'm not saying to not do that. I'm saying to look first and investigate. Video platforms is also another one. Everyone is running to the masses to create video content, buy a platform without really considering what they may have internally to work with. Employee advocacy is another one that it's definitely one of the hottest things in the market right now. It's one thing I'm super passionate about myself, but you don't always have to go out there and buy a tool. Now with agencies, I'm not saying agencies are bad. I will address this specifically in the next slide. And then external partnerships. There's a lot that you can do internally that you don't need to run out there and sign a 20, 30,000 euro contract for. Now there's good partners out there. I'm not taking anything away from that, but kind of determine what you have in place first. As I said, agencies and vendors are not bad. I have a lot of great friends, the Matcher friends here too. Also others across the globe who are agencies or work, they're vendors. They're not bad at all. But I think what happens is you get people who come into these new roles, or they have a lot of budget to work with, which is nice to have. Not something we always have the luxury of having in this particular space, but they're only as good as what you're providing them. And where I feel the biggest miss is that you have a lot of individuals who come in and you're not even knowing what this how you can best leverage this agency or this vendor. Like they can post your jobs, they can create it for you, they can get you on different programmatic channels to help you out and really expand your reach. But determine what it is that you need, because they can be your best partner or your worst partner. And worst partner by meaning you don't know what you want, they don't know how to best service you, and there's a bit of not really matching and level setting on expectations. All right, so there's a lot of talk of employer branding. It's a lot of stuff that we do is external facing, but it also starts from within first, internally. Your authenticity does matter quite a bit. I think what companies have to do is really identify what you're truly about. I think definitely in today's climate, I know specifically here in the U.S., it is identifying. If you're truly about diversity, then showcase that you're about diversity. But you need to stand for that, though. If you're simply just putting blank messages out there, people will see right through that, and they will call you out for it. So determine what it is you are about and put that out there. Be as authentic as possible. Just make it a buzzword. Next, if you have an EVP in place, really, I strongly push you to assess that and determine if it really aligns with where you're at. And not just where you're at, but also does it align with today's market? Because there's a lot of EVPs that you may have that you created when you had budget, back when before there was a lot of major cuts with different companies, and now you still have that. And is it really relevant? Does it cover the diversity and the flexibility that your company offers? And on top of that, does it also does it reflect what the business is today? Because you may have changed locations, you may have changed teams. There's companies now that have gone heavily into AI. Does it reflect that? Because it's, I love employer branding, but there's a lot that comes fused into that with your EVP that does include a lot of areas of the company that you should be considering. Next is to really just speak a truth. Are your messages working? Do they match your values and your culture? Because the biggest problem that you can have is you're shooting out messages out there, you're amplifying, you're activating every way you should, from everything you've read and the millions of employer branding articles out there. But do they really speak to what your culture and your people are about? Because that is something that will get exposed rather quickly when they join the company and find out that they've been sold to, essentially. Not a good problem to have. All right. Next, take inventory of your current assets. I'm big on this. This is something that I do, whether I've been at a company for a long time or if I'm in the interview process. And I think it's something when you are just joining a company brand new, you should definitely consider this as well. Because one, your social channels. Yes, there's the usual suspects there: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. But do you have an employer branding presence there? Are you just sharing one channel with the consumer marketing team and brand? Or do you have a specific life or careers channel? Those are some things to look at. And what are you doing with those channels? Do you have capabilities to do anything? I mean, because those channels are free. It requires, you don't have to run paid ads right away when you join a company and you're really activating that employer brand. It is something that's free, doesn't cost you anything to post, but look and see what you have, what the setup is, and how you can best leverage that. The next is reputation review sites. Everyone has their own thoughts on that, and yeah, they're they can be the best sites to have or the worst ones when you see the negative reviews about your company. But they also offer a lot of free employer branding opportunities and ways to activate your brand. I mean, your EVP and the messaging that comes with that can be expanded upon here and showcased at a high level, as well as any videos or, again, your social feeds from the channels listed above. Great way to put that out there and to highlight your employer brand and what you're about. The next is one that I feel like is never considered as the first option, the first place to go to, but it's the place that inspired you to join the company that you're working at today or consult with them. And it is the career page. This is a golden opportunity because unlike everything else, you're already locked into a contract with it. But from whoever the predecessor was that has this in place, you likely have the ability to create multiple pages, or you're working with a partner to fix that for you. But you have the option for pages. You can embed any of your reputation reviews. You can embed your social channels. You can create videos. You can get specific coding that will help you out with, maybe if you can't have those embedding options, maybe you can put a custom application in there. You can put blogs in there. There's a lot of things you can do, but it's never seen as the cool option to use first. But I highly consider you to go there when looking at taking inventory of your assets. The next is going to be your people. And I'm not going to dive into employee advocacy quite yet, but need to look and see who actually supports what you do. Because, and in cases, when you're joining a company, you are probably a little bit of a deep dark secret. People kind of know what employer branding is. They've seen some cool videos and blogs online, and LinkedIn and TikTok, but they don't know what it's about. So they're kind of oblivious to that. So you got to find the people who understand what that is and also can help you, with being sponsors and supporters of your approach, because they are a huge asset to being successful. I can tell you from having been successful, but also from having fallen just completely flat on my face and not having anything work out. That is definitely a must. The next is to review your existing technologies and tech stack. Your ATS, it's a golden one. There's a lot of great, we always look at ATSs when we see, okay, hey, if their applicants flow into there, is there proper tracking, which is great too. I'm not saying to discount that, but what are you using? What are the capabilities from that? Can you add in UTM tracking? Can you track a specific source? Does it let you take that ATS and maybe embed the application into your job description, which then in turn helps you cut down on any sort of drop off from the great organic content marketing and recruitment marketing that you're putting out there? Along with that, what are the capabilities to actually, pop in any sort of integrations to truly track everything from start to finish? Yeah, Steve, very good point. Yeah, they are definitely woefully underutilized. I completely agree with you there. I try to pick at that as much as I can, but I think with some situations I've come into, it's also been where, okay, if I know I don't have budget, I've got to go there, right? So uh, putting that there, that does matter. Next is, this may tie in depending on your ATS, is there's talent communities typically connected with that. If not, you may already have something that either the TA team has, the comms team or marketing team has, or if you have a separate candidate care team, they probably have something there that you can leverage. And by doing that, you can, there's a wealth of opportunities. You're taking your content marketing strategy, you're applying that to your talent community, and that could be high level, monthly, bi-weekly. I would definitely say not bi-weekly, but hey, whatever floats your boat. And then you can get even granular as you mature with that. You can go department specific, location specific, high priority requisitions, a lot of possibilities, the main point here. Along with that, your communication platforms. And by platforms, I'm going back to the basics. You have the opportunity to email. You can, Outlook, Gmail, whatever you may use, Slack or Teams. And with that, there's the opportunity to connect with different teams, different groups that have been put together, whether they be ERGs or if they are groups of individuals who are by location. That's something that that I love here the most that we have at GoDaddy is we do have the ability to, we have locations like like Austin, London, South Africa, whatever you may have, and there's a chance to see what the your local teammates there are doing. That will give you a lot of intel, also help you find ambassadors and just different things that will really help mold and build your employer brand. Along with that, there's CRM tools. Some ATSs are do have the CRM component connected with them, and they may be good, they may be bad. Gives you something to work with. But if you don't have that, look into that as well, because that is it's honestly it's a game changer with what you can do, and I think it's something that is completely underutilized. And then employee advocacy platforms. Not all companies have them, but there's companies that that may have that in place. And this comes with working with your teammates, because you may have your internal comms people who maybe have tried a platform and they've tried that internally, but don't don't have the expertise or have not used it on an external level. So that's an opportunity there for you. The other is we all have mobile devices. We have cameras on there. We have the ability to stream, to take videos, photos, also on your laptops. There are great options that you can use. So before you go out there and run and grab it, this is not to shoot down our folks that are in the creative field, because they're phenomenal at what they do, right? I'm not trying to replace them, but if you got to make something that is a little more affordable and authentic, you can do that with everything that you have at the tips of your fingers. All right. Activate your internal network. I'm very big on engaging with teammates across different departments. Heck, I even created a methodology team, which is specifically based on that from previous success, but failure actually led to that, which leads me to this. There's tons of potential opportunities with marketing, comms, and branding. Creative support. Having the ability where someone can actually create the artwork for you because, hey, Canva is awesome. Adobe Express is fine too. But there's going to be some sort of level of detail that if you're missing that expertise, you want to have that individual who maybe there's a graphic designer, UX UI individual who has some time to help you out with your employer branding needs. They can do that, and they can design that at a high level that does match with what your branding guidelines may be. So definitely don't miss out on that. Platform access, I think, is huge. Because your marketing team, if they're doing a lot of digital marketing, they typically have access to the Hootsuites, the world, Sprinkler, and that can give you access to look at all the different campaigns you're running, whether it be paid or organic, and have that there, because with their access, they likely have an enterprise contract, and you can hop on that wagon, and maybe there's something you can give them a return with access to an advocacy platform, or if you have a video platform, and then swap access there to join forces. I think it's a great way to be doing things. The other is there's typically marketing, branding collateral assets that they have that they can give you that can be used for branding purposes. So rather than reinventing the wheel, see what they have and put that to use to get yourself started. The other is reporting and analytics. Can't tell you how much that has been helpful just to work with different teams who have access to something like a Sprinkler funnel, or just even more of a premier access to other platforms that will give you in-depth information that will help you out and help you succeed and save you the money in the process. The other is employee ambassadors. Definitely identify and work with your natural ambassadors. By doing so, just finding these people who are super active in the Slack channels, emails, town halls, your all hand calls, or who are, if you're connected with them on Instagram, TikTok, they can help you by just activating your employer brand, because they're natural leaders. So, the opportunity with them is to, you can reach a niche target group. There's also content marketing potential, and then to, possibly leverage them as speakers to amplify your brand. The next is a big one here that to me is near and dear to my heart is DEIB. So ERGs and partnerships. Apologies, we had a little bit of a typo there, but identify what it is that makes you diverse and amplify that. I think now more than ever than before, it is something that companies should be looking at if you are truly about diversity and inclusion. And with that, look at what existing partnerships you may have. Maybe you're already connected with, let's say like a Lesbians Who's Tech, or Afro Tech, Black is Tech, National Black MBAs, Black Women Talk Tech, certain groups like that, right? There's different ways for you to connect with them. And you may already have a partnership with your existing diversity team or other teams that are there. So leverage that. But if you don't have that, which not everyone does, you do have the ability to, work with the groups and identify, okay, maybe if you have a group that is focused on, say fitness, IT, or Asians, or African Americans, or women in tech. There's different ways that you can use that, whatever your groups may be, and just to highlight them and to, infuse them into your content marketing strategy for your employer brand. Now, there's a lot of cost-free things you can do. As I mentioned, career page is a huge opportunity, and refreshing a career page goes a long way. Very simple. I mean, everything is drag and drop. If you need a little bit of coding, there are some great websites out there to help you out with embedding JavaScript, but simply update your content. I mean, job descriptions, God, that goes a long way with the, simple amount of text just to make it that more specific, succinct, speaking more to the job seeker versus maybe the copy and pasted job JD that has been there for years. Fixing that goes a long way. putting videos, embedding your free social content from your social networks and pictures, refreshing that, it gives it a brand new look. It's like putting a new coat of paint on a wall or a car. It does damage in a great way. And also, I would say, grow your social following engagement. The typical content marketing stories, and they could be as cliche, very, very, very lame at best if it's that, because most people are starting out. You don't have these mature stories. That's the true fact of the matter. You're working from nothing. So employee stories, team features, highlighting, hey, this office just opened up over here. Those are small things that can grow your audience, and it costs you nothing but time and effort. The next is creating the employee advocacy platform before purchasing one. I know most all the vendors out there. I love what they offer, but I'm more of a fan of, before you buy the technology, what are you trying to solve? What are you truly looking to accomplish? Because if you're looking to get this platform and hoping that's going to build out your SOP and your structure for you, that's not the way that it works at all. What you need to identify is, okay, what are we looking to do? We're looking to grow our channels. Do we want to have them engaged with talent? Are we trying to showcase the ROI behind our employer brand? If that's the case, are we using this across different departments, different teams? Is this global? How do we really get everything down there to look at the stats to see if this is working? I think get that in place. Also find a way to actually gamify if you can, because people love that. And that's all stuff that you likely have the tips of your fingers with what's there that can help things out. The other is something that I think has just gotten, honestly buried in the shuffle of AI and all the fun stuff that's been out there. But you can also build an employer brand toolkit. Every company likely works with Microsoft. You got SharePoint pages you can use. That's free. You likely have access to that. Build that out. Use that as a hub, as a springboard to teach people how to engage with the employer brand, how to be the best brand ambassadors possible. Also give them assets and teach them how to go out there and work, obviously, in cohesion with your social media policy, how to do that and get out there and truly activate your employer brand. Because you having this few sessions with them may work, but they need a source to go back to. We all have a hub that we go back to for our own policies and procedures. So why not do something similar that amplifies your employer brand? All right, and then consider your free options. I love Grammarly. It's before everyone was really, really hot on GPT and Copilot and everything else. Grammarly was there. Still something great that you can get for free. The free options work well. You can get a Chrome extension, help you amplify your messages, keep you honest if maybe you got a little too much on your plate and you misspell a few words, or you want to localize your words too. Because fun fact, we spell things a little bit different here in the US versus the UK and rest of the world, so that will keep you honest. Other for your content creation, Canva cannot go wrong. Supreme with a lot of things, especially with the new AI improvements. It'll make you look like you actually went to school for design. Opus.ai is another one too. I've been diving a lot recently into like slicing up a lot of my podcasts and webinars. This will do that for you without going through hours of times to slice and dice stuff. It'll cut everything up into maybe 9 or 10 videos for free for you that can be used as stories, reels, or TikToks. The next is, a lot of what we do is project management and content creation. And with that, I love Notion, always a big fan of theirs. Gives you everything you probably have inside of OneNote, Excel, maybe Outlook or Word, combines it all into one. It's a utopia for project management. And they don't charge you like other platforms, without saying any names here, that will charge you for a content calendar, which is a godsend for those of us who work in the EB space. The next is social scheduling. It's great to go on the native platforms, but that is time consuming. So look at Buffer or Hootsuite, or if you have a pay contract, look at Sprinkler. Great options to get that done. All right, and then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about AI. Make it your BFF. It's free to use. I think I look at this as, we walk into the employer branding world, and typically we are a team of one, or a very lean and mean team. AI is there to help you out with that. It's not going to take away. If anything, it's going to enhance. I look at basically AI as being a second set of eyes. You otherwise before this would have sent your content or certain campaigns for someone to review. Well, you got your AI buddy there. If you have specific prompts that can review that in a session, say, hey, is this meeting the mark? Am I actually measuring correctly? It's also great for competitive research because I know when I got into the space back in 2017, it was all manual research for hours at a time. That can now be done in maybe a half hour or less. On top of that, just, you know, instead of going to all these different reporting sites, reputation review sites, you can get a quick Snapchat or snapshot of employee sentiment based off, Glassdoor, Indeed, Zing, and Kununu. Also, SEO keyword optimization. If you create your campaigns on your own, which I suggest everyone do, that can help you out there. Also, to analyze your data, and if you're questioning if it's going to work or not, drop that into your AI of choice. Obviously, make sure you check with your company on what you can use and cannot use, and do not put any personal data in there. All right. So my challenge to you all is to audit and optimize. Look at what you have. I guarantee you there's a lot there that you maybe have not considered. Maybe they gives you, this presentation gives you some food for thought to go back and see what you can leverage that's there, and then optimize that. I'm not saying don't go out and buy anything. Like, optimize everything first, see what's there, and then if you still need to buy something, if you determine it's needed, you now have enough to say, I've done this, there's a business case or the white paper, whatever you need to get forward to leadership, and you're likely to get permission to do that versus being shut down. All right. Any questions? The floor is open.
Hey, Alex.
Hey.
Awesome. Many nuggets of wisdom. And I love it that Steve is your biggest fan. Steve has been been texting a lot. I actually wrote down a couple questions, Alex, during your presentation. In terms of in terms of how do you activate your employees to become employee ambassadors?
So I think you got to start small.
Yeah.
Just like when you're testing anything, it is, find like maybe 10 or 20, probably 10 teammates who are active on social, and just say, hey, listen, I've seen, identify if they've been active and say, I've seen you've been posting videos, you've either created or curated, and I would love to pilot with you an ambassador program. Because that's honestly what I did here when I joined, because I joined and we had a couple failed programs, not for my team specifically, but
Yeah.
they had done advocacy before and it just did not work. But having done it myself, I knew that there was an opportunity. So let me get some recruiters, because there's an instant means that we both have to find candidates. We got new markets to work with, and say, let's try this. But with that, do me a solid of, instead of going to job boards, let's test out this program first. So before we go post on LinkedIn or Indeed, let's go ahead and try this first. Let's amplify with your network, and then get your hiring managers that you're servicing part of this process, where they share that. We simply track back the links with using a Google UTM tracker, and let's see if that drives traffic. And I mean, from there, that has really propelled our program to grow tremendously.
Wow. And is there some kind of like rewards for the employees that they? Yeah. Something there for them.
Yep. I just worked with my friends who are in our L&D department. They have a great system, without diving too deep into the weeds, that will definitely make you happy, and build up a little competition to help you share.
Great. Awesome. Hey, and you also mentioned this a little bit, right? You're responsible for 47 countries. Am I correct? Where GoDaddy is live?
I think it's about there, yeah. So there's wherever we have a business entity and we may potentially hire. Like, we obviously have our high priority locations, but anywhere if we're going to hire for somebody, that is handled by the employer brand team.
How do you structure the local versus the global and the approach, and where is the cutoff in that way? And what's your experience there?
Yeah, so I think what you have to do is there's content or campaigns that is like an always on strategy, where you want to make sure you cover every location, but it's very broad enough where it can be used in each of those locations.
Yeah.
But then there are times too where, like, markets like India or the UK or Serbia, it's different, right? Because okay, either you're using the local language, which like the US, we use ZZ for a lot of different words.
Yeah.
But in the UK, they use S. So like localize would be different. So localizing words like localize in the content to make it work.
Yeah.
And then, obviously in Serbia, if it's English, like we go English first here and then Serbian, but there may be times where having someone on camera speaking Serbian or having the actually Serbian language used instead of English makes for a better situation than a better way to reach the audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Natasha just jumped on that. I don't know how much you want to share, but can you give some examples of rewards that employees to play the game of brand ambassadors?
Yeah, great question. So check with your legal team on this, but I think the best option if you can do this is always like a Starbucks gift card, Amazon gift card, like something like 10 or 20 USD, pounds, or euros.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that because it's a small amount, right? But then if people see that, they're like, well, instead of me paying for coffee, I want to compete against my teammates. And it just cost me, 2 minutes to sign up for this integration, share on my social. It's really not much at all, but you can do that. And then, if you take it to a much mature level, maybe you can run like niche campaigns where they can win company swag or potentially days off or whatever you have there. But I think there's a lot of ways you can take this.
Yeah. Okay, great. Hey, in terms of you, what Alex, what's the brand that you look up to in terms of employer brand? Like what's like where you say is like, wow, this is such a strong, great user case.
I think their head of employer brand was just on a show with Adway recently. I think it's Bolt. I like what they did. They did a really good campaign, I think,
Bolt,
for the
BOLT?
Yes. Yeah, they did a campaign.
Sorry, the taxi company and delivery company, or
I don't know specifically what they do. So
okay.
very oblivious there, but I caught one of their campaign where I think they did something, either it was in Warsaw, Poland.
Yeah.
And I believe the approach was to show exactly what they're not. And it's so different because a lot of times we have these employer branding campaigns and we try to make them polished up, or they're like very authentic with mobile devices. And we try to cover your typical regular shots, B-roll, and it focuses on people just having fun in the office, which really isn't always what happens. But Bolt took a different approach, which I thought was phenomenal. I'm like, I'm jealous that I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So good. So good. I'm gonna look it up. The fact that it's in Warsaw, it must be Bolt, the taxi delivery company.
Oh yeah, I believe it is.
In terms of an employee sentiment analysis, can you explain that a little bit more, what that means and how you would do that?
Yeah. So with that, I mean, there's tools you can pay for to get that done, but I mean, you can also just go into whatever your AI preferred tool may be. Now, if you don't have them, the gates are wide open. You can go into ChatGPT and just see how you're performing. Like, what do employees think of you? And you can get pretty granular because that stuff it's free data that's literally scraped off of these websites, right? Like Blind, Glassdoor, Kununu, and just say, hey, like, what's our rating? How are we doing with that? Obviously, there's some stuff that's behind the paywall, but at a high level, you can get that and just say how we're performing, and you'll know, hey, are we 3-star? Are we a 4-star? I don't think it always tells the true story of what's happening behind the scenes, but it gives you something to share with leadership and we start that conversation.
Yeah. What do you think about the anonymous ratings and in that way, especially from your position?
I'm not always the biggest fan of them, right? Like, I think, in my personal opinion, if you are doing annual surveys, whatever you may call them at your company, they're telling you the same things there, but they're then in turn going to like the Glassdoors of the world when they're either not being heard or they just they're still mad about stuff, right? But it doesn't change with what you're seeing in your surveys, like the stuff that you and your teams may be working on when you get the results back. If you have that insight, they're the same thing. I mean, but they're just wanting leadership to review that and do something about it. And then so their next option is, well, if you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to Glassdoor and Indeed. But then again, that's not the entire population, right? There's also people who maybe were burned during your candidate experience process where they had a terrible interview experience. They went there. But maybe on top of that, there was individuals who were impacted by redundancies, and they either could, they didn't say anything for the first several months, and suddenly have the urge to speak out. So then they'll go there. So you're always dealing with different waves of people coming through. But I don't think it should be the only thing you look at. I think we get too lost in Glassdoor, and it shouldn't be where we put all our focus.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting platform for many reasons, right?
It is, definitely.
Yeah. Alex, I don't think we have any more questions for the chat. I love it when the presentations are like, to the point, tons of value, and that we give some time back to our audience and our listeners.
Thank you.
Alex, what is the best way for people to connect with you? Is that through LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, or I have my email on there too if you want to email me directly.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to jump on a schedule a Calendly just to talk shop. I've done that with yourself as well, Adrian.
Yeah.
Or if you are on TikTok or still have TikTok, happy to connect with you there as well.
Oh, so good. I'm so curious. I don't have TikTok, but I'm now going to ask my stepdaughter, who's 14, who lives and breathes on TikTok, to see what your account looks like, Alex.
It won't be as exciting as hers, but there's more branding stuff there.
I love it. Alex, thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Next week we're gonna have Vanessa Roth here speaking.
Nice.
And if it wasn't for Vanessa, she's going to be speaking about AI, but how to keep the human edge. I would have been like, really, another AI kind of like human edge type of topic. But that Vanessa Roth is bringing it. I know there's going to be tons of value, engaging keynotes, and every time she speaks, there are always nuggets of wisdom that I'm writing down and bringing to my company. So please stay tuned. Alex, if you have the opportunity to come and join, I'm more than happy to extend you the invite as well.
Sure thing.
For now, thank you so much, Alex, and thanks for all our viewers that dialed in today.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.